This is Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. Shane, thank you for giving me some of your time. I know you've done many of these tonight, but all in celebration for Chris Billam-Smith. He just keeps on doing it.
Yeah, exactly. He defies the odds once again. The bookies are. I don't think they're going to go against Chris Billam-Smith from now on. He shows up, man. He's a big time fighter. He's a proper occasion fighter. So happy with his performance. When his back's against the wall, he really shows up.
Yeah, Chris must have some rich friends by now, the way the bookies keep treating Chris before fights. Did you get what you expected from Richard Riakporhe over the 12 rounds?
Yeah, there was parts of that first fight that I knew that he struggled with Chris's movements. There was parts of the fight against Sam Hyde. There was parts against Jack Massey. He has selectively picked his opponents since the Jack Massey fight. He's gone over to boxer. He's picked opponents that he looks good against, that stay at the end of his, try and beat him at range, like Glowacki and Dion Juma. And I just believe that with the right execution, that was always going to be the desired result. I think when he was with Mark Tibbs, he was a bit more raw and it's harder to read, and I think that actually was working in his favour a little bit. Angel's done some good done some good stuff with him, but just when he's boxing Chris Billam-Smith, it's just you can't try and be pretty with every shot.
Has he got underappreciated punch power, Chris? Because in the Okoli fight and in the fight tonight, the two guys were looking to clinch and hold on after being hit with shots. We heard a lot about Richard's power in the build-up, but Chris is obviously damaging fighters with these because, tonight wasn't the first time that once a fighter's been hit, the first thing they've looked to do is get straight into the clinch. So is this a man with underappreciated punch power?
Yeah, I mean, look at what he can knock guys out, and he's not a one-punch knockout artist. If you sort of leave your head there and let Riakporhe throw a shot, it'd probably be considerably harder than Chris Billam-Smith. But it's about the angles, it's about how you fire off it. And look at Usyk, for example. If you put him on a punch machine, he doesn't generate that much power, but it's the way he can exhaust fighters. And Chris, I'm not comparing him to Usyk, but I feel like he boxed really, really well tonight, and he constantly offset him. And I think his punching power is underrated, but his presence is really underrated. The way he holds a presence in the ring, he pushes you back with intent, and he's a gentleman, but he's a nasty fucker when he gets in there.
Yeah. To carry that much weight around, that much muscle around, and do that for 12 rounds as well. He's a busy fighter. When we was watching the fight, everyone was saying he just looks busier, and in a lot of his fights, especially at the elite level, he's just looked busier as well. He's got some engine on him, Chris, hasn't he?
He has to be, because he's not, gifted, or in terms of he's not 6'5.5", 6'6", and can knock you out with a half shot. He has to be busy. Look at Jack Massey. Jack Massey has loads of ability, but he's just not busy enough. And those sort of fighters are. It's just the intent. Every day you step foot in a gym, you have to put effort in. And if you can put effort in, if you can understand your weaknesses and strengths, and then work towards them, and try and make yourself the unique selling point in Chris Billam-Smith is the intent, is the engine, and also being able to hold form doing so. So he gets a bit ragged sometimes. He gets like Mastinet. He got a bit ragged against Isaac Chamberlain. Got ragged, but when he's really up against it, and he has to focus in. He doesn't get as ragged, and he holds form better. And that's those are performances that he's capable of.
I'd love to know, from your perspective, how you keep such high standards in the corner. Because I just spoke to Chris, called you to the dream team, and said how good of friends you are outside of just being a coach and fighter relationship. How do you maintain such high standards? Because you're so close outside that I guess you kind of don't want to fall into the mates category when it's business time, but you are so close. So how do you maintain such high standards in those 12 rounds?
Because he respects me, I respect him. I took Chris Billam-Smith on when there was no carrot dangling in front of him. Do you know what I mean? It was pure hard work. He knows I'm in it for the right reasons in terms of getting the most out of Chris Billam-Smith. And I've had world champions. I've come from Munning. I got raised in nice school, but for me, it's about the most important thing about boxing is accolades. And for me to get Chris Billam-Smith to become a unified or potentially even an undisputed world champion, that's what it's all about. And we can look at each other and say, that's the most important thing. So there's a switch on. One thing I changed up in this camp, I just said, just get everybody out. in changing rooms. You know, the last 2 fights, there's just been so many people, and they're all good people. But for us, I had literally in the change rooms me, my dad, Josh Pritchard, and Jake was coming in, my brother. He was coming in to tell us how Ben Whittaker's, how that fight was going, and that was it. You know what I mean? And the official. So that there is just, and Chris will respect that. A lot of fighters, when they get to that level, they're like, oh, I want such and such to come in here, I want this person here. And it's just like, we're doing it for Chris Billam-Smith's, for him to go out and be the best version of him. And that's the most important thing. Because you can go and sit, like right now, go back in and celebrate, clap hands, do everything. But you know what, like, I'm going to go home, he's going to go home, we'll chat in a couple of days' time. But like when we look at each other, it's like this is, we're great friends. We're great friends, but like him winning and continuing to improve every day is the most important thing, and that's how we do it. We hold we hold each other in high regard in that way.
It's been a brilliant partnership so far.
And sorry, he also has the intelligence. You have to, like for myself, like. I like to be able to work with guys that understand why we do certain things, because there's loads of gifted fighters out there.
I mean, rather than just be kind of robotic, kind of put the batteries in them and let them do this, you want them to know why they know the process.
Well, because if you do something so often, right, it becomes a habit. Now, for them, they can jump around and like work on the bag or whatever they want to do. It's like, well, that's just a fucking pattern, right? And good fighters, like look at Lomachenko, Usyk, boxing's not hard for those guys, right? They switch people off like that all the time, right? And the most important thing is, when I say to him, you can't do this and this, if you do that, like you become easy to read. Okay, cool. Whereas other fighters was like, yeah, I don't quite get it, or they'll just go back to doing it anyway. And that's there. It's like fucking pushing water uphill. So for myself, there has to be that synergy, that he respects it, tries his best, and he might not be able to implement it all the time, but at least he's trying. And if we do that over 10 weeks in a camp, then you can go out and execute performances like tonight.
Just one more thing that I wanted to say. You mentioned accolades. What an accolade it would be taking Chris Billam-Smith and a few of the Bournemouth Massive over to Las Vegas. I just spoke to him in the change room. He said he's not picky. He don't mind Los Angeles either. Taking him over to America and doing the business over there. The next logical step for Chris?
I think so. Listen, like boxing fans are impatient. Everyone's like, oh, I want the two best in the division, Opportea versus CBS. Let's have it now. And it's like, yeah, the money's obviously there anyway. But for us, it's about like maximising Chris Billam-Smith and strategically getting him like in the position to fight for an undisputed world title. And I think he also, he has the ability to do so. And I believe that with Riyadh season being so heavily involved in boxing at the moment, and they're literally just like a boxing fans like dream. They're just creating fights left, right, and centre and you're getting the undisputed heavyweight title fight. That's the first time in 20 odd years. Obviously.
Like Football Manager, but the boxing version.
Exactly. It's just like pulling fighter A versus B, and C and D just fight each other, and then they can just have this box offs, and that there is what like everything that always breaks down boxing is TV channels and promoters, right? So Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather, it was 2 TV channels and 2 promoters that were breaking down that fight. They probably wanted to have that fight years before. It took about 6 or 7 years to get it over the line. You got a guy that's just like, what do you want?
There's no barrier.
What do you want? Okay, cool, yeah, we'll sort that. No problem. TV, everyone can have it. Do you know what I mean? So that's just, it's brilliant. That boxing's got to that. And that there for us as a team, like we selfishly want Chris Billam-Smith to fight for an undisputed, and hopefully it can happen.